Kia ora, good evening, welcome to the Guerin Report and Happy New Year. Thanks for watching the show last year. We've got some great ones coming up for you in 2025. It's been a huge, busy, crazy, wild time of racing. It's about to get a lot crazier because January is our month here in New Zealand racing, and even once we get through that, we've still got Champions Day just a couple of months away. A guy who's going to be involved in both of those things, but particularly the Karaka Million on January the 25th, is Luke Kemeys. He is the boss and the founder of The Boys Get Paid. Happy New Year, mate, and thank you for joining us on the Guerin Report.
Yeah, Happy New Year, Mick. Good to be here. I've been enjoying the show, and obviously you're struggling for guests. So hey, look, I'm in the area. Let's get it done.
No, I tell you what we want. I want to tap into your career and your work because I think that's really valuable heading forward for many of our watchers, our viewers who are sole traders. They run their own businesses, but we'll get to the money part later on. I've never asked you this. How did this huge behemoth, which is The Boys Get Paid, start, and then how did it get this big?
Well, I suppose these days most people probably see Boys Get Paid as the Punters Club, especially around January and Karaka Millions, right, and then the various ones that we've run. But originally, Duane, a mate of ours, he started a Facebook group for us to be able to chat to each other around our best bet. So it was basically, you put your best bet in, and then you've got bragging rights for the week should it win.
How long ago was this?
Oh, that was in 2011.
On Facebook?
Yes, yeah.
How many, I presume mainly guys, were involved initially?
Yeah, to start with, there's basically like 5 to 10 of us, yeah. And then it sort of was ending up on people's Facebook feeds and people started to request to join and it started to grow. And when it really sort of snowballed, I guess, was when I was quitting my job and I went out on my own and I had a bit more time to organise things. And so the Facebook group, I think, by then was about 2,000 people, maybe even 5, I can't quite remember. But we said, who wants to go to the Captain Cook Stakes at the time down there at Trentham? And we had 75 people come from all over the country. And we sort of knew, like, wow, like these people haven't met in person before, and now a lot of them are good mates, and there's heaps of cool stories from that. But we sort of put the hat around, right, who wants to run, put some money into a punters club, and we bet it on behalf of everyone. And I think we had a decent whack at Kawi that day, so I can still remember that call, and like everyone was just cheering, and we just had such a good time. And Ben Masters was on the camera, and he was recording. So it was kind of all sort of almost happening by mistake a little bit. And then we got back to Auckland, and we'd always loved the Karaka Millions. We'd fly up regularly when we lived down in Palmerston North. And I said, why don't we try and build a online form that people can fill out and chuck $100 into my bank account. If we can pull 20 grand, we can recreate Wellington, but do it at Ellerslie and bet it on behalf, and we'll go live on Facebook and sort of share what the bets are. And we ended up with 52,000, I think, in my ANZ bank account. And so I'm reconciling $100 at a time every morning, and I'd refresh this live spreadsheet, and it would be like, all these people that entered. And yeah, that was sort of the start of the Punters Club at Ellerslie.
How many regular Facebook users would you have on the Boys Get Paid page now?
The group's now 30,000 people. We have a sort of combined following of around 30,000 across Facebook and so outside of the group, Facebook, so we can punch Boys Get Paid content and Instagram. And then we have our app, and that's got 35,000 downloads, and people are coming on there to see what we're tipping, and Ted does a preview throughout the week, and people might multi his bets together or check what they're thinking against that. And then we have an email list that goes out, so that goes out every Friday, and we have about 15,000 people subscribe to that. That might have an open rate of around 40%. So, we're probably hitting, 20 to 30,000 people every week around something to do with racing.
At what stage did that stop being fun and a bit of a laugh, and now is a mini business and bigger than some marketing budget spends for a lot of companies and the return they get? Where's it at with all that now?
Yeah, it's a really good question. It's sort of gone from this journey of everyone chipping in a little bit to us trying to have a bit more structure and do things. And I think as the visibility has grown, there's probably this perception that we're this big beast with all these employees. And I'd cross the ditch and go to Australia, and it's like, right, how many guys are hired by BGP? Well, none of us. We're just, what? And they just couldn't get their head around it. But now there's a bit more structure to it, and we've got some content that we put out, and we try and do things regularly, and then we take a bit of a break. But the punters clubs have got pretty big now, and I think there was probably a few moments where it sort of broke, where Westpac are ringing me being like, why have you got so much money in your bank account? And I'm saying, should that be on a term deposit? And I'm saying, no, I'm about to pay that out to thousands of people. And they're like, what do you mean?
So how do you pay, say there's 2,000 people in a punters club and you win or lose, do you have to individually pay them back?
Well, we have once. And so that was like a nightmare, because you can think, like, if we're winning, I'm always like, oh wow, like getting this money back to these people is going to be just as much of an issue as collecting it. But we built a way to batch refund people if we could sort of confirm all the data was accurate, but it would kick back the people who get bank accounts wrong and things like that. And it would sort of leave us with about 8% of people that were wrong, and I would have to get in touch individually and be like, hey, you've made a mistake. But it graduated to the point where obviously, it was getting pretty out of hand to try and run it like manually and with spreadsheets and things like that. And so we'd been saying to the tab, why don't we create a way where people can just enter via the TAB and then you guys can refund them too. That strips us out of it. We can focus on the betting side, the promoting side of it. Then it's more fun, right? So back to your question of when does it not become fun? But the downside to that has been that I guess now the exposure of it, you get these people that, I'll be honest, like we wouldn't have had involved in a room or in a punters club to start with, but because they do now have access to it, they sort of don't get what the whole thing's about. So, we'll get blowback that, you guys are supposed to be professionals and stuff. And I'm like, we have never said that. We're just having a bit of fun, having a crack, and we're not always going to win. So
is that because you can't control who buys a $100 share via the tab?
For sure, yeah. And now it was $100, which I think, a lot of people would have gone, I'm not putting $100 into a punters club. And that was we just kind of picked a number, right? And then now it's like you can put a cent in, you can put $1 in. And I think no matter what people have in, they then think, for this percentage of people, right? They think, well, then I now have an ability to tell you what you should have done, what you did wrong, all of that sort of stuff. So that's become very noisy. And for me, like that's the bit that probably makes what was originally very fun for us, not as enjoyable, because you're dealing with comments, messages, emails off the back end, if you're losing, of course.
You're a big boy, but how does it feel when you have a loss but somebody's abusing you when you're trying to have the obligatory post-race meeting drink and just relax your brain? Yeah,
look, I've gotten a bit more used to it, would probably be the way to put it, but like it still hurts, because one thing that I try to do personally is I try and put a decent chunk of my own coin in so that I know, well, I'm going to feel this pain with everybody. The whole idea of the Punters Club was to have a bit of fun. We scream a horse home together. And I guess over the last couple of years, like we haven't been winning. So it hasn't been like we've had a lot to get excited about. However, the people that are in it for the right reasons understand that it's entertainment, not like they're guaranteed to win. But when we lose, definitely that next week, like I'm waking up in the middle of the night, I'm running numbers, I'm recalculating things, I'm second guessing, what we've done. I'm not looking forward to opening the Instagram account to see, who's had a crack. I see 6 emails and the boys get paid inbox, and it's like, right, what are we going to cop now? So that's all the stuff, I guess, that people don't see.
So why would you still do it? Even if you're making a minuscule amount of money out of this, you're not making career money. So why, or what do you love about it that you still want to do it?
Yeah, so I've had to really ask myself that recently as well, especially off the back of Cup Week last year, right? And when we started this, it was about us being able to share something together that we enjoyed and our mates. And also, I went to the awards night with the Van Dykes from Prima Park one year, and it was the first time I was exposed to the awards, and there was a contribution to racing. And I've kind of been raised that, you make yourself useful will be the saying around the house sort of thing, but it is like, if you've got a skill set, then you should lean into that skill set and contribute. So be a producer, not a consumer. So being a chartered accountant as well, that's kind of asked of us, okay, you're a CA, great, your life should be pretty good if you, follow a good path, but you have a responsibility to give back to the community and contribute as well. So for me, it's part of, that was, I guess, an evolution of me going, right, here's a way that I can contribute to this industry that we love, that we watch every week, and have a bet on and go along to the races, and we don't really understand it. And it's like, well, we could be doing something to kind of promote or encourage other people to be a part of the sport, not just gambling. And that's what it is at the heart of it. And that's what I have to remind myself, that, there are hundreds and also, thousands of people that get it for the right reason, and they will enjoy that aspect of it, and they'll come along, they'll scream a horse home together, or they might fly up from the West Coast or wherever, and they'll have an amazing weekend. And that's actually who it's for, not for the people that, you know, they're actually probably like hoping you lose, or they don't really want to be involved for the right reasons.
It's a very varied space at the moment, the content space, because after having virtually none or very little for a long time, and you guys filled that void, now Entain have come on board, so there's a lot, which is great. Advice here for people who run racing clubs or stables. What have you found are the key accelerators and engagement tools to get people's eyeballs on your page or on what you're doing?
Yeah, I think we all overthink how flash it has to be, and I think we're in an age at the moment where people just want to sort of see behind the scenes. So I guess, like, I'm lucky I grew up with two parents who were journalists, so I sort of understand at a high level and grew up around storytelling. I think storytelling is everything, and storytelling can be, hey, we're grooming the horse and here's why. You know, but we think it has to be this like magical, crafted piece of content, but realistically, people are very interested in what's happening behind the scenes of a racing club, a stable, for a jockey, and we're fascinated by other people's stories, but many of us don't tell those stories, and if we can get in the habit of doing that, then we have the chance to, you know, have people seeing those stories and then want to go a little bit deeper with it.
Let's talk about big wins and big losses. We'll start with the wins because they're a lot more fun. So roughly, what's the most money you've had to play with and the best result you've had with that?
Yeah, we had a great year 2 years ago. We went down to Cup Week and we, you know, bet across the 3 days. And I'm sure punters at home and you yourself, Mick, like you would have had a day on the pump where you just sort of have a bet and you think, like, how has this won? Like, this is just, I can't miss. And it was a little bit like that for those 3 days.
I had a Harness Jewels one year where I think I backed 9 out of 10 and I just booked tickets to go to Europe. I was just like, this was insane.
Yeah.
And when you get that rush, I don't know, it's amazing.
Yeah, and I think we had a bet on Cyrus, and it was just booming home, and it was like, I was watching it at a pub sort of going, seriously, like, is this going to win as well? And
it was the last race at $12, I think it was, or something like that.
Yeah, on the Friday, which set us up massive for the Saturday. And then, of course, Saturday we were a band and we had, I think, a massive multi to return $250,000, I think, on a couple of runners.
Well, Legato, which jumped to the Monday.
Yes.
And it nearly didn't get the starting gate.
Yes, yeah. So everyone was refunded, and it was like, but you know, we played off of that, going back to the storytelling, and be like, right, have the tab deliberately done this to it and stuff, and you know, everyone's having a good laugh with it, and you know, that was an unreal few days.
What sort of numbers are we talking there?
I think we tripled. I think we made a $500,000 profit that weekend over those 3 days.
With most people, not everybody bets, and I respect that, but when you have a win like that, I presume it ends with joviality in a bar.
It was a very late night and I was very dusty at the airport on Sunday morning to fly home. Yeah, even with an abandoned race meet.
Flip side, what's the largest pool which you have not had success with?
Yeah, well, we've done 2 Karaka Millions in a row now where we've basically pulled $1 million and we've lost half the kitty twice. And like, that stings. And you know, last Karaka Millions last year was very frustrating because, you know, we had a $50,000 futures bet on a $21 shot. You know, like, who's been a part of that before? We've got $100,000 on a horse paying 14s in the futures, and I think it starts at 6s with the dangers Luberon and Belclear. Luberon bleeds. You know, Luberon's now come out won 3 in a row. We run second. We've got, you know, a live chance in the Karaka Millions twice to win $1 million. We've then planted $500,000, I think, on Legato and multied into orchestral. And we've saved $100,000 on Desert Lightning, just in case, you know, $1.50 should get beat. I'm in the room watching it with the Prime Minister. You know, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. It's just crazy, like, what we're actually sort of doing. And then it's like, you guys suck. You lost half the money. Like, how? It was an easy night. You know, and you have to live with that, like, damn it. Like, how it did seem, like, it's always easy looking back at a day of racing, right? But we were so close, but we just couldn't quite get it right. And it could have been, like, I guess for me, that night was about, like, the reintroduction of the energy of racing and being back at Ellerslie and the team having that track ready and all the work that they'd done and the people being back and us wanting to play our part of, like, right, you know, we've got $1 million pool here, we're betting to win $1 million with a $21 shot. Like, it's just out the gate. And then we still come up short, and you have to kind of get up the next day and be like, right, like, that sucked. But then you head out to the sales.
How long does it bother you for? Like, I've punted my whole adult life, and I've taught myself to not let it bother you. But I've seen people it bothers for a long time. And to a degree, I don't think those people should bet, because it becomes a negative in your life. I think if you've had a bet and the next day it's still in your gut, it's a tricky place to be in.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I've definitely had in earlier years betting where I've gone, oh, that's not smart, that's stupid, I need to, like, dial this back, etc. So I know what you mean. I guess for me, with the Punters Club, and for us that are involved in it, I could start with $100 on a Saturday, right, and lose that and go like, oh, that sucks, cop that, and you turn the page and it's like, that is what it is. I knew what I was getting myself into. When you're betting on behalf of people, I think then you sort of have that sort of perception or expectation from some people of like, you must win. But I do think...
Well, also ego's involved. You want to win.
Yes.
Greg O'Connor and I did a Punters Club on harness a few years ago, and we weren't allowed to bet till the day, so all the good odds were gone. We lost 40,000 of other people's money. For people watching this who aren't racing people, they probably lost $20 each.
Yeah.
I felt it. I felt terrible about losing my niece's $20.
Yeah.
But also my ego wanted to win because I'm supposed to be a winning punter. How does that feel when you're the king of BGP and you've just torched $500,000?
Yeah, it's not great. Like, you just have to accept it, like, it is what it is. I hope that people who enter know what they're getting themselves into. And even, we've had times where we've won and it's like, you guys are flogs, you should have done this or whatever. And so you come to learn that you can't actually win. But you're still thinking about it on Wednesday and Thursday, the week after. Like, everybody's moved on 72 hours later. And that's where you have to, like, draw a line in the sand and go, okay, how long is this going to frustrate me for? But you definitely do feel it. But I also think if I didn't feel it, that probably would be more irresponsible, because people would think like, oh, they don't care. And I got a bit of that feedback after Cup Week that, you guys were kind of just down there having a few beers and didn't really care. And it's like, oh, like, trust me, we care. And I guess, people don't see the effort that goes in behind it. So, like, I'm meeting with the product team out of Australia to understand, like, how's this actually going to work? Are we going to break things? We're trying to put bets on, we're hitting limits. They're not like, oh, okay, quickly, come on guys, like, we need to sort this because we need to get the content out there.
So to have 50,000 on one at $21, which obviously a normal punter can't do, and you shouldn't try that, do you have to talk to the tab about, are we allowed to do this and we're going to put it on now?
Yeah, so there's sort of limits that we have regardless, but then there'll be limits that might break the technology, depending on what platform it's been running, and now we're getting the crossover of the different platforms. But normally we'll give them a heads up of like, hey, and sometimes we'll just throw them a stinger of like, is it all right to have 100,000 on a $21 shot to get them guessing? So yeah, we normally, at that level, we have to, and like, I'm on the phone trying to get that $500,000 on Legato, and it's like, Luke, you need to hurry up. The Prime Minister of New Zealand is in the room and would like to talk to you. And I'm like, mate, I haven't got time for that. We're trying to get this bet on. But he came out and watched the race with us. I'm like, oh, we got $500,000 on this horse. He's like, sorry, what? So, there's so much going on behind the scenes that I guess people don't see as well. And I think sometimes that's frustrating for us because we know how much effort and time it takes to put this together. And then you have people sort of knock it and you go, if only you knew the sacrifices going in to pull this together.
Is it going to continue? Because you seem to be the numerical brain behind this. Do you think Boys Get Paid continues in 5 years, or does it need a more permanent or more detailed structure around it to support it? Because it would seem to be a big undertaking for one man to be the moolah of. When
I was, just getting into my business that I started, I had a lot of spare time, so I could sink that into that. But now, I get asked to speak at things and it's $5,000, right? So this is not really a good use of my time and going back
and that's away from the Boys Get Paid, that's the accountancy role?
Yeah, okay. So I might fly somewhere, talk for an hour, get back on a plane. So when I am in a meeting with the TAB about, hey, we might break this technology, or replying to people saying, you guys suck, or hey, I can't find my ticket to this event or whatnot, you could argue it's not a very good use of my time anymore for what I could be doing with that time. But at the start, it sort of was, right? So things change and people's priorities change. But a lot of people get a lot of enjoyment out of it, and so that's why we've tried to maintain it. I've been playing with, do we do we go back to, if you want to be part of the Punters Club, you come to the event and we just do it on course and it's just those people that are in that room and we change it up. So like I'm open to all of those sorts of things. It doesn't need to be this big $1 million beast. My ego is not attached to like the number has to get bigger. I want people to be enjoying it and to be fun. And I guess we'll see how we go at Karaka Millions. And yeah, I mean, look, I might have to pull myself out of the selections if we don't win again, but I don't want to make any calls prematurely. But there's thinking going on, that's for sure.
Last week I texted you to ask you to come on the show. About 10 minutes later, I was looking at YouTube and a video of you came up, which is terrifying to really think that's how your phone works.
Apologise.
The video wasn't terrifying, it's just terrifying to think it works that way. But it was fascinating. You were talking about, as your job as a chartered accountant, advising people on just stupid things not to do and smart things to do to save you money, which is going to help you long term. A lot of people watching this show are self-employed, whether they're truck drivers or farriers or stable hands, jockeys, obviously trainers, or they're sole contractors. What's the advice for them? What's something which a lot of Kiwis don't have? Enormous financial literacy. I was one for a very long time in my life.
Yeah.
If somebody's watching the show tonight, what basic key financial advice can you give them to get them thinking the right way?
Well, so for a little bit of context first before I dive into that, so I run an accounting practice and we've built that from ground up over the last 8 years alongside the journey of BGP, right? But I also host a podcast called Keep the Change, which is designed, same sort of thing. Okay, how can I take my knowledge as an accountant and give it to everyday people? That is 5 times bigger than BGP. There's 55,000 followers, there's 20,000 email subscribers, there's 1.4 million downloads of a podcast, and it's a pretty big beast on its own. So I have a lot of conflicting demands on my time, say, but what it does give me is a good cross-section of different people and what they're doing and being able to cross over different lessons. So
what are the common mistakes?
The common mistakes are that people simply don't learn about money to start with, and they think, like, they'll say things to themselves like, I'm bad at math, or I never learnt about that, and then we stop there, and it shouldn't be stopped there. It's, okay, then I can learn about that, and there are so many resources out there now. And in the business space, the same thing. People will, this is the easiest country in the world to start a business or start a company, but no one then learns how to run that business successfully and understand their financials. And again, it can be learned, but you have to get around the education and make a decision that you do want to learn that stuff. And that can be the catalyst to your journey completely changing. So one of the simplest things that I teach in individual finance, but this is no different for business, is every month you should be looking at, what money do I have now? What have I got coming in over the next 30 days or till my next pay run? What have I got going out? And then you're mapping out your cash flow. And then what assets do I have and what liabilities do I have? This is what I learned at university, and it's normal for accountants to think about, and every board in the country would understand this. Every big company that we invest in does this every month, but individually we go, nah, that's not for me. I never learnt that. But it's very, very simple. And doing that monthly can get you closer to your finances and your money, and then
but let's say there's a guy or a girl watching this now who's an apprentice jockey, or they are a farrier, and they're like, I know what I'm doing. I can ride a horse, I can tap a shoe on a horse, but I don't know about that shit. I don't know about that sort of stuff. So, in other words, they don't want to learn about it. Is one of the smartest things I ever did was getting an accountant who I trust and listening to him. How important is that if you are running your own business?
Yeah, so you have to have somebody, if you don't want to do the thinking, you have to have someone that you can trust, then you have to own the fact that you've delegated that thinking to them, if you're an apprentice, as an example. But, I go and speak to the apprentices once a year as well, and people probably don't know that, and I go stand up there for an hour and talk about money. They actually really love it, and they learn a lot, and I've seen a couple of the apprentices completely change in the way that they respond to that info as well. But yeah, a good accountant, and I guess specifically in the racing industry, you need someone that understands it, because, do I get to claim the expense of having a sauna in my house? Probably not. But should a jockey? Well, they've probably got more right to argue that with the IRD than me, right? Because I don't need it to run a punters club or to do a set of accounts.
Sounds nice, though.
Yeah, that would be great.
When I was in my 20s, I thought buying property or joining superannuation funds was just naff. That was what old people do. God, I wish someone had told me. that a key piece of advice? Get involved in a good KiwiSaver fund or into a fund that invests over the whole stock exchange. What are key things? Someone watching this now is 25 or 30 and they've never invested in something in their lives. How important, for the glory of compound interest and market evaluations, is getting involved early?
So important, because you give yourself more time in the market for that snowball to compound. And the great Charlie Munger, who's now passed away, sort of said the sooner you can get to 100,000, which sounds like very tough, right? Then the compounding effect of that is just out the gate. Now, I think another way I'd explain this is whenever we go to Australia, right, I kind of feel like it feels wealthier over there, and that they don't mind a punt, they're a bit brasher and whatnot. And I reckon part of it is that it's compulsory to be an investor in Australia. So everybody has to participate in superannuation, and the minimum contribution's moving to 12%. In New Zealand, we're like, you know what, it's voluntary. And we still say, like, is it a good idea to invest? In Australia, they're like, you will invest money. And they haven't had a recession, like a proper recession, for I think coming up 4 decades, and their total savings for retirement are 40 times that of a Kiwi. Now, for me, I'm like, I can look at that education and go, what do they know that I don't? Or do I need to be the hero that goes, oh, you know, investing's a bad idea? I go, if it's working over there, it can probably work for me. So easy for me to say that now at 36, but at 25, I probably was booking the next Jetstar flight to make sure I could make it to the Karaka Millions or whatnot. So I think the teacher appears when the student is ready.
We've all been there. What's the quickest way for people to download a podcast if they want to know more about that? They know where the boys get paid, as they can find that. What if they just want to know more about protecting their money and therefore protecting their future?
Yeah, so Keep the Change, the individual money lessons for everybody. You learn about tax and growth, and I interview investment advisors and all those sorts of things. I don't pretend I know everything. And then Next Advisory on the business side of things, and we give back a lot of information and conversations with paying clients so that people can understand, okay, you know, what's someone further down the path than me thinking about.
Mate, thanks for all you do for racing. Thanks for the financial advice. We're looking forward to the countdown to Karaka Million and you and your tribe being there.
Yeah, I can't wait.
It's Luke Kemeys. Thanks for watching the Guerin Report. It's been great to have your company tonight. Welcome to 2025. We have some awesome guests coming up. But over the next month, it's going to be really based around the sales and the Karaka Million and all of our great races here in New Zealand. So thanks for taking the time to watch us. We'll be back with the Guerin Report, 8 p.m. next Monday night on Trackside.